Hey guys, welcome to a impromptu video on Total Extreme Wrestling 9's announcement and the Dev Journal. We'll go over day 1 and day 2 of the Dev Journal, but I'm pretty excited, but this has really kind of come out of like left field here. They're announcing Total Extreme 9 will be released by Grey Dog in a few weeks. It's going to be Saturday, July 27th. It's going to be free to play. Fully functional is just going to limit how much in-game time you can play. It will be released 1 week later on Saturday, August 3rd. Price will be confirmed closer to release. They're going to talk about some frequently asked questions. Why is it TEW 9 and not TEW 2024? They're going to change the name from having a year to being a number because it's not an annual release and they think it's more appropriate. It's fine. The licensing is still going to be the QLM license system that they already use. You cannot continue your 2020 save games. They're going to be two different products. New features. There's going to be a dev journal that started yesterday, and it's going to do one every weekday between now and the game's release. Is it an entirely new game? It uses the same base as 2020, so you'll recognize a lot of things. They're not going to reinvent the wheel. They already have a very popular, stable base to work off of. There's going to be new features that are applied to it and to that foundation. Will they be a Mac version? No. They only make Windows-based games. Minimum requirements, if you can play 2020, they say you can probably play TEW 9, even though it's slightly bigger. When times the game will release, they're not giving out an exact time because they don't want to have a huge spike in traffic and problems that can cause. It will be handled by Grey Dog, and it will be on US time. So, pretty exciting news that this kind of just came out of nowhere. That we're getting a new Total Extreme Wrestling. It's going to be Total Extreme Wrestling 9. And yeah, so let's get into the Dev Journal. It's every weekday between now and release, you'll get a Dev Journal. There's over 200 new items to get through and only 4 weeks to do it, so they're going to differ from previous journals. It's going to have multiple reveals. So the big thing, day one, they wanted to talk about, it's not really any kind of list of things, but the booking team and creative energy and ideas. So now you're going to have a booking team up to 5 people. It's going to assist the head booker in carrying out their duties. So at the start of the night of a show, the booking team will meet. Even if it's just the head booker working alone, each member is going to be related on booking skill and generate a new concept of the game called creative energy. The higher the skill levels and the better the team work together, the higher levels of creative energy they will be able to generate. So some of it's going to be automatically spent on the basic creative requirement of putting on a wrestling event. The longer the show is, the more CE is required, but a penalty will incur to your final show rating if you don't have enough. Whatever CE is left over, it will be banked and it can be saved to use on future shows, or it can be spent on creative ideas, which we'll cover in a moment. So this is basically gonna, give you a new resource in the game. So the booking team is a high-pressure environment and will act as a hot house. That is, relationships will tend to act as they're on steroids with people who would normally be mild, friendly, bonding. Anybody who's going to be kind of rivals or anything could potentially become enemies. This means you can stuff your booking team with lots of members in order to try and generate more CE, but you will run the risk of creating more drama. A chaotic booking team full of people playing politics, particularly if splits develop, can really harm how it functions. I mean, you got to think WCW in the late 90s when you had all those political plays and all the people that just, kind of were behind the scenes trying to pull strings for themselves. I mean, I love WCW, but apparently it was a nightmare down there to book. Ideas, kind of just did not get used because of the politics. So it says people will take a large morale hit if you kick them off the team. So you have to be careful about who you select. Keeping a close eye on the personalities involved and existing relationships will be key. Smaller teams have the disadvantage that they don't have as many people contributing CE, but they can be slightly easier to manage and get bonuses to simulate greater levels of focus. Overall, finding a balanced, well-adjusted booking team can be a great boon for the company. A dysfunctional one can cause a lot of issues. And people will also request and or demand to join the team and get annoyed if their political rivals are on the team. So you have to potentially navigate tricky backstage politics that have lasting consequences. It's one of the ways the backstage environment will feel more alive than in previous games. So going back to creative ideas, there's going to be essentially purchasable booking aids that can be deployed to give certain effects. They're going to be creative finishes, angle ideas, gimmick ideas, storyline ideas, and character ideas. Each of them is going to cost a certain amount of CE and can then be used in game. You might deploy a creative finish via road agent node to a big match to try and boost its rating a little more, or to use a gimmick idea with the chance of trying to get someone's new gimmick to be more successful. Each idea comes with a successful rating that tells you how much of a gamble it is and how much of a penalty you'll get if it doesn't go off. An expiration date and a random restriction applied to it as only being able to use like a specific worker in a specific situation. When you purchase an idea, you can name it so it's easy to keep track of. So all of this is going to be working together to simulate the backstage politics of wrestling. Make the locker room environment more vibrant and give some fun extra mini games to help you feel like you're actually sitting in the booker's chair. So worker ideas is another feature. It's tying into that creative ideas feature. Creative-minded individuals on your roster can now come up with their own ideas that automatically get added to the ideas in your arsenal. You don't have to purchase these, they come for free, but they are restricted to being used for that worker alone. Of course, if a worker comes to you with a creative finish that just so happens to be that person winning, it means you might have to change your booking plans to accommodate that and use that. There's also going to be new attributes added to the game so that more and less creative workers can be simulated. They're going to be locking child production values. So by popular request, you can now set whether your child company is autonomous or not when it comes to changing their own production values or relying on you to do it for them. That gives you a greater control over it and can stop situations where they're behaving in a way you don't want them to. The next feature is backdrops, stable backdrops, alliance backdrops, brand logos, and backdrops. So a lot of people like the GIF picture packs that allow custom backdrops to appear whenever a worker's picture is in game. This was previously limited to just being the company logo, but now it's been expanded to include custom backdrops that are specific to the company, stables, alliances, and brands. So apparently we're getting some alliances in the games. They're going to have separate subfolders, allow them to be easily distributed, and a creative degree of creative control over how the game looks now for each company. Product narratives. By request, several new narratives have been added to the company's product that can be updated, evolved over time to match reality. So anybody using historical databases, this should be particularly useful for. Random broadcasting slot length. Database makers can now set broadcasting contracts to have random links rather than needing to pit a specific expiry setting. So that'll help database makers. So a lot of cool features on day one announced. Pretty excited, but let's go into day two now. So we're going to have the inner circle. The inner circle is a series of optional roles that you can hand out to people on the roster. The benefit of this, outside of the effects specific to each role, is that it can improve your relationship with the person chosen, positively impact their morale, and build loyalty. However, like the booking team, removing someone will hurt their morale and can lead to ugly scenes. So you have to deal with this politics. And I think that's going to be a major theme in this new game is politics in the backstage environment. So let's go over the roles here. We have locker room leader. You can have up to 5 different locker room leaders. This replaces the old system where locker room leaders happened outside of your control. The LRL are core workers who are known to be in the booker's ear. Their impact on the locker room is heightened. Could be a pro or a con depending on who you are, who they are. Having 2 locker room leaders who become rivals can really damage the locker room environment as they jockey for position. A good LRL will tend to be well respected, positive role models, and the booker will generally take care of them because of the potential negatives if they get unhappy. You also have to be the experience of being in the ring, so they need to be or should be an active wrestler or a retired one. Um, Another role is chief enforcer. You can have up to 3 enforcers. They're the ones who are going to impose discipline on the backstage area, which, if they're doing it well, will have the effect of lowering the chance of fights breaking out, people turning up late, etc. The downside will be that the powers can go to some people's head and negatively impact their behavior over time. On top of that, they're more likely to fall out with those who misbehave. So they need to be tough and should be well respected. You're going to have a head of talent relation. It's going to be an effective person who's going to be a buffer between you and the locker room. The position is filled, they automatically handle all but the most major locker room incidents on your behalf. Any blowback goes to them, not you. Major downside is that you hand over some of your, power. You no longer get a choice of how most incidents are handled. You may end up with outcomes you don't like or have not chosen. So this is going to have a huge effect on the backstage area. If they're doing a job that's poor, it can have massive ramifications. So they need to be well respected, have a professional or people-oriented personality, and not be an active in-ring person. It would be probably preferred, might even be required. So it's also going to have a higher wage demand just due to all the responsibility and power that they're going to have. You're going to have a morale officer who's in charge of keeping the backstage area happy. It's going to have a positive effect on the locker room. It's going to be amplified, lessen the penalties of anyone who feels isolated, but they increase the chance of positive events happening. If they become unhappy, though, it can go really bad. It can spread quickly to other people. They may clash with unhappy or negative people. So you got to have the right person for this role as well. And the next few are like senior road agent, senior referee. The road agent's in charge of the road agent core, and will make sure that the booking team's instructions are carried out. They'll get boosts for being in power. They tend to develop positive relationships with the booking team. Sometimes the power can go to their head. So higher wage demands for this one as well because of the workload. And you just got to make sure you get the right people in these roles, I think. So the senior referee is going to be in charge of the referee corps, and they're responsible for making sure the ring crew sets up everything pre-show. If you only have one of these guys, either a road agent or a referee, this position has no effect. The person who's chosen gets a morale boost. There really aren't any downsides unless the referees get jealous. A good candidate's skilled at their job and has a responsible personality. They also have higher wage demands due to the extra workload. You will have a head men's and head women's trainer. So these trainers are going to be responsible for running pre-show training drills for the less experienced workers in their respective divisions. This will help boost basic skills and makes it more likely they'll also take on a mentor role. Good trainers need to be solid in-ring workers and generally have professional or people-oriented personalities. They don't need to be part of the division they're training, but however, due to the added workload, added wage demands will be on this role. You have a travel organizer who's going to be responsible for arranging all the travel and accommodation for workers who are not local. The benefit is that they'll get morale boost for given this responsibility. The downside is they may annoy the other workers if they're irresponsible or if they screw things up. It's only going to be available to medium-sized companies or smaller, as bigger companies have admin staffs to handle this. A good candidate will have a good personality, a steady personality. It comes with added wage demands due to the extra work. Now we have a secret role called the stooge. The stooge is the booker's eyes and ears backstage. The benefit is they can report on happenings that you may not have ever known about before, and they'll also develop a bond with the booker. The downside is that they must be kept happy, because if their morale drops too low, the relationship with the booker may deteriorate, and they can then start spreading hurtful rumors. There's no particular skills needed for this role, but it's an underhanded position. Finding someone willing to take it on could be problematic, and you have to be careful with who you ask. So this is a feature that adds more to the backstage environment and politics, It makes this game, they hope, more engaging than previous games, adding some extra decisions, wrinkles, and knock-on effects for you to deal with to keep things interesting. It's not going to just be our companies that do it. The AI companies will have to deal with this too, and you'll see stories and notes on the website as these positions change or lead to incidents. So I think this game is going to be built around making it more of a Booker type sim. I know it already kind of is, but there's a lot of things that happen politics wise that we never saw before. At least I never saw before. I've only been playing this game for a couple iterations of it. So it might have been back in the ERW days. Who knows? They may have had some of these features, but this is kind of exciting. It's going to potentially make the game, um, you know, more realistic and more fulfilling for those of us who love to create these type of, booking sims, fantasy booking. So some of the other features we're going to have elimination order. So you're going to be able to give precise instructions for the order of elimination. It includes battle royal style, like the Royal Rumble. You can fill in every single elimination, or you can just fill in a few and let the game fill in the rest. So this has been heavily requested in the suggestions forums, and it gives those who are detail-oriented the extra control. Increased name sizes. So names for companies and alliances have been raised from 40 to 50 to allow some situations in the real world to be correctly handled now. So that would be nice for those database creators. Generic venue capacity. Now they have an inbuilt capacity figure based on the region that you're in. Okay, so this was a request from several people. It means venues in smaller regions, let's say like they're saying Hawaii, could no longer get huge attendance levels. This only applies to generic venues. If you create your own custom venues that break those capacities, you can do that. But this is just for those generic venues, so we can't game those types of things anymore. We're going to have enhanced promises. They can now workers can come to you and now promise to put people over in angles as well as matches. So it gives more flexibility to the system and adds some extra detail to the booking section. Team bonding. New team bonding options have been added when addressing the locker room prior to the event. This will bring key members of the roster together, so like you, the major stars, the stars, locker room leaders, to try and build team spirit. Can build strong friendships and loyalty in a good environment with the right personalities. But if there's any cracks in any of these relationships, it will expose them and make things worse for you. So independent show frequency, now you can adjust that both at the database level and individual save game level. So you can disable them completely, or you can select a range of options going from very infrequent to very frequent, or choose to use a smart selection which creates an optimal level based on the number of available workers in that area. Local fans and company size. So when deciding whether the fans will turn on a worker, the company size is not taken into account. So smaller companies will have a slightly more tolerant fans and not expect such high minimum standards. We're going to have owner/booker narratives. New narrative requirements have been added to allow a narrative only to be triggered if a certain worker is owner or a head booker of the company. This will allow things like the company name changes linked to who is in charge at the point of time. And they're going to get an extended bankruptcy grace period. It's now going to be 3 years from your founding, not just one, before financial performance becomes relevant to any bankruptcy calculations. This makes it fairer for newly generated companies as they have more time to become established and to turn a profit. And it's going to be better for the gameplay, as I don't think anyone particularly likes seeing new companies come and go so quickly. So guys, that's our day 2 and day 1 of the Dev Journal. Kind of did this video a little bit late, but I wanted to do a video getting some stuff out to you guys because I am a TEW channel. I create stories and content for TEW. This is a big announcement. TEW 9 is a big announcement. I'm wanting to cover it. So the big question for me now is, what do I do with my TEW 2020 saves? Where do I go? Do I get them to a point where I feel they're at a good stopping point a logical stopping point, and then end them there, or do we do one right now with that until I get to that point, and then one eventually if the TEW9 is out, we do that one. We'll have to just consider that. I do plan on doing a TEW beta save on Saturday, July 27th when the game comes out. I'll start it up, go into the game, get some footage together, get that out as soon as possible on the 27th if I can. That way you guys can actually see the game in use. I don't know who we're going to use for that right now. It obviously will probably be somebody in the Cornell verse, which I have no problem with. I love the Cornell verse. I don't think it'll be Black Canvas Grappling because we're doing that on a TEW 2020. I might take one of the Lucha Libre companies, or I could do a Joshi if they have one available. We'll just see what the database is and how it works out. But I'm really excited for this. I'm hoping it gets a big upgrade. One of the big things I hope it does is it gets a resolution, either something that can be adjusted or different options or a bigger resolution, because the game right now as it is so small in some of our windows now makes it sometimes difficult to actually tape footage for this game. But I hope we get some good choices with that. I am excited for this game. So if you guys are, please leave some comments. Let me know, do you want me to do one each day of these dev journals? Or what I was thinking would be one at the end of like a week where we go over all of those week's features and just go over them and let you guys know what's going on. So let me know in the comments below. As always, guys, if you guys like the content, give me a like. Subscribe to the channel if you're not. And as always, I'm Last Son. This has been Last Son Gaming. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in our next video.